All right, everybody, and welcome to episode 269 of the 9 Years podcast with myself, Nick Draper, and the face of the BBC Sport website, Mr. Stuart Deakins. Interesting podcast this week because there's no script. I have not had a chance to prepare, so I'm going to be doing a lot of research on the fly. I do apologise. It's been a very, very long week, and we had breaking news this afternoon, hence why we delayed the podcast a little bit, so we knew what was in that announcement from the Don's Trust, and we'll be discussing that. So that was the announcement regarding financing for the bridging loan of 4.6 million that we need to pay back in April. We'll be talking about that in due course. We'll also be looking ahead to the trip to Guiseley, to the game with Guiseley at Plough Lane on Saturday in the FA Cup first round, and looking back over some FA Cup memories over the past decade as well. But we're going to start with the defeat, and we're not going to spend too much time on it, away at Cambridge United on Saturday, 1-0. But Stu, I am going to start away from football just slightly to do our annual comment on the use of poppies and minute silences for Remembrance Day at football. Cambridge held theirs on Saturday. It was the 30th of October. Last time I checked, Remembrance Sunday is still on the 11th of November. Oh, Remembrance Day, sorry, is on the 11th of November. This year, Remembrance Sunday is on the 14th of November. And every year I have this rant. Football does not need to hold its own minute silences. Footballers do not need to have poppies stitched on their shirts. Remembrance Sunday and Remembrance Day, when we have our 2-minute silence, are our opportunity as a country and as a nation to come together to remember those who lost their lives for our futures, for us to be here today. I take it very, very seriously, Stu. I wear my poppy with pride every single November, but I don't do it until the week of. I don't do it in October. That's ludicrous. And of course, I'll be attending our local war memorial on Sunday morning. But football doesn't need to do its own thing. It does annoy me because I don't feel it's done for altruistic reasons. I think it's done just for footballers and football clubs to say, look at us, aren't we good people? It's not about football. It's not about AFC Wimbledon. It's about everyone that lost their lives fighting for this country. And I think we forget that when football and other organisations just try to piggyback on the back of it, really.
Yeah, I think, we've obviously announced on our Twitter that tomorrow is our Remembrance Sunday, not tribute, is it? Do you know what I mean? But remembrance side of it. And I feel from a club's point of view that you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. If we didn't do it and we sort of try to say, look, we don't believe we should do it this weekend because we haven't got a game the weekend after, then I think it's a PR nightmare, isn't it? And, once you start doing it, we were just reminding that Cambridge did it. And I was really taken aback when I saw it. So I was like, this is really, really early. I can don't get me wrong, I can sort of live with it. If the Cheltenham game was going ahead, I could live with it on that Saturday. I could live with that because it's it's within a couple of days. I can totally live with that. But it does feel like if we haven't got a game because of whatever, then we don't do it.
Yeah.
But we know as a club, PR wise, probably get complaints, etc., moans. That's why we're doing it. But football just seems to feel like it has to for everything now, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It just becomes a bit tedious.
With absolutely everything it is, it's a case of unless you're seen to be doing it, people assume nefarious or malevolence on your part, and it's not that at all. It's all, like I say to you, this societal issue at the moment of having to be seen to be doing the right thing as opposed to actually doing the right thing. And we're seeing more and more of it, especially in football at the moment, and I'm not a fan. But that said, what I'm also not a fan of is one win in 8 games. And a few weeks now without a league fixture because Cheltenham next week has been postponed due to international call-ups. So we've not got a league game until the 20th when we travel to Portsmouth. Rare that we've gone 2 league games in a row without scoring.
3 if you count the pizza game.
Which we don't, so that's fine. I don't know, Stuart. I just think there's a combination of things at play here as well. I mean, when we look at the defeats we've perhaps had, Cambridge, people will argue, was perhaps the most disappointing. Like we lost at home to Wigan, that kind of happens. We've picked up points, disappointing against Burton Albion, but we picked up a point. Great fight back against Sheffield Wednesday. It's not like we're playing badly. I just think sometimes you go on a bit of a run, especially with an experience as well. Cambridge, like I said to you last week, Stu, they'd gone on a run 7 without a win. And sometimes the balls just bounce for you in those sorts of runs. And you'll find that we'll probably go to Portsmouth now on our own sort of dodgy little run and get an unexpected win. It's just the way things happen.
Yeah, it's been difficult, isn't it? Because we sort of like, lost to Wigan, but Sheffield Wednesday, we had a great comeback. Let's be fair, we didn't play great against Sheffield Wednesday, but we just, got the goals when they arose, and then went to Lincoln, and the Lincoln was a just totally off, one-off performance, wasn't it? In terms of it, we battered them that first half, and then you have the Wigan, then you have the Cambridge. I think with Cambridge, obviously they've gone to Shrewsbury and lost 4-1 the week before, going through a bit of a bad patch. Robbo released his pre-match update, and I think he nailed it really when he said we're so worried about what we do out of away from the ball that actually we're not effective with the ball. And I've been saying a little while that we're just not getting we're our three attacking players, Sal, McCormick, and Rodoni, just not getting the ball to them in any areas. We've got three luxury players, if you want to call it that, who is their job to go and cause havoc, which they can do. But we're not getting to them. We're not getting the ball in the right areas. They're passing it sideways. They're not taking maybe that ownership. And we're a little bit. You remember when we first started Robbo, we passed it, that extra pass for pass sake, sideways, backwards, back to Hennigan, long ball. We can't play long ball. I think Robbo nailed it. We've just gone away from what we were doing well. But that's what you get. We have to accept. That's what you get with a young team. They hit, if they don't, they're not going to play well the whole season. Teams are going to try and roughen us. They're going to try and get under our skin. They're going to try and make us do things we don't. I know we're going to preview Guiseley, but Guiseley are a big, ugly team. Well, maybe not ugly, I don't know. They're a big team, a big northern team. And they're probably going to try and make it into a fight. And they're the games that we try to get into. We try to fight fire with fire rather than going, we know what we're good at. Get on the ball, get on the floor, play. And we're just getting sucked into that. But it's all part of the learning. But yeah, let's not learn it too long.
Is confidence an issue with this, do you think? Perhaps not at the moment, but if the run was to go on much longer?
I think so. You're getting, and Joe, what we were quite fortunate. The crowd are really good. There's good following at Cambridge. I think one thing you can't say about this team is that they don't work hard. If we don't play well, it isn't for the fact of they're not trying to get, we don't see people hiding, they make honest mistakes. I think the fans will always appreciate that. But let's not kid ourselves. If we get knocked out of the FA Cup, or we got a break and then we don't hit, we've got a lot of games coming up. If we don't get that win or run of points, then we're going to be in the bottom four. And yeah, that's when it's going to be difficult, because we're going to have to really get behind these boys. And that's hard when you're not winning.
Mm. The goal we conceded, poor goal. I'm not sure. It's difficult because obviously in the moment things are a lot harder than they are when we're watching it back with hindsight. You never like to see a ball bouncing in your penalty area, though, do you?
No, but let's be fair. That freak of a goalkeeper, Holy, launched it, and it wasn't the only one that he launched. It was cut. It went straight through to Zanev. I think it's a bit unfair, really, having him as an emergency loan. If I'm being honest with you,
it's quite beneficial for them.
Emergency loans annoy the hell out of me. I think we've benefited from it before, haven't we? From memory,
I think we have.
But let's be fair, an emergency loan. You've got loads of goalkeepers. Like, if anyone's had a chance to see the official site this week with Ashley Bays doing the training with, I think we should go from Zanev down to the under-11s. We've got loads of goalkeepers. Yes, we're not going to play the under-11 in goal. Of course we're not. But we've got under-16 goalkeeper. I just get a little bit fed up with emergency loan. I think it's just an easy cop-out. We should have emergency loan for a forward, because we have none on that side. But yeah, do you know what? He launches it. We don't deal with it. You're right. As soon as it bounces, you're in trouble. You've got to say, though, the header is if you're a Cambridge fan, it's a great header.
Oh, yeah. You're loving that.
A looping header from outside the area. Like, some people were going, was Zanev at fault? No, he wasn't really. Zanev was caught in between no man's land. It's a great header, but it's just sometimes, when your luck's against you, that's what happened. Because, we'd only had the chance in the first half, Holy done a good save, and then late on, when he put it straight into the keeper. So there's tail of the game.
Yeah. It was interesting, Rodoni with the header where he put it straight to the keeper. His reaction was a good reaction, I thought. It was frustration with himself that he hadn't made better of the chance. I think if he'd have looked upset, mortified, whatever you want to say, then that's when you start to worry about confidence levels, as if things aren't going for you. But his reaction was anger at himself, which suggests he knew he could have done better, which I think is a more positive emotion at that stage.
But you know what, Nick? His age, what is he now? 20, 21?
Yeah, he's all,
and
yeah.
he is getting in. He is getting in some brilliant positions.
Mm.
You know, yes, all right. He didn't score, but look at the position he got into. You know, if you get into a position 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a shot on target, or and I think he's getting better and better, and he's setting high standards. Yes, we expect him to score that, but he's still really young, but he's doing really well. It's one we need to get on a longer contract, but we can talk about that another time.
High standards, Stu. You're going to make me go on a rant again, because this is something we have totally lost sight of in society. We need higher standards across the board, and I don't want to rant again because I ranted before, and we decided that was too hot for TV or for Spotify.
We are going to release it at some point. It's a classic 10 minutes.
Oh my word! Yeah, I really did vent, didn't I? Talk about luck, and when he lucks out, he lucks out. But there are some. Well, I suppose it evens itself out, really, doesn't it? I was going to say on the positive side, yes, we've had the injuries to the centre halves, which wasn't helped, and Dan Chocker came in and by all accounts did perfectly fine, to be honest with you. Ollie Palmer's come back in, and he's, like you said earlier, we might need a striker, but at least with Ollie back in, might give us more of an option to go longer when we need to. But then we have the news just breaking this evening that Paul Osu will not be available tomorrow because he has contracted COVID. Well, he might not have done. He might just got a positive test. Don't know. But he's not in because of COVID.
Yeah, it's frustrating, isn't it? It's obviously, COVID's coming. It didn't really disappear, did it? But the isolation side of it. How can I put it? I wouldn't say it's a massive loss in terms of he's a first team regular, but he's a bodies, isn't he? Yeah, sort of side of it. As long as we've got enough players, hey, look, Ollie Palmer's available. I think we've got enough. We've got enough in there, so it's not going to be the worst thing in the world, and it'll have a good break. So obviously, we go into a period of a break period now, don't we? Even though we want Presley and that to get a rest, and they're going international duty, so catch-22 with that, isn't it? But yeah, it's a shame. But this is only one player, and it hasn't spread.
What else happened in League One? So I'm so focused on what we're doing, but it's been a bad week for Sunderland, I see. Rotherham spanked them 5-1. Do they lose heavily at Sheffield Wednesday in the week?
Yeah, lost 3-0. Yeah, lost 3-0.
That's bizarre.
Do you know what? I did chuckle. I did watch the goals. And by the way, if you get a chance to see the Cambridge second, I think, goal at Morecambe, absolute brilliant goal. Like, seriously, you've got to see it.
Okay.
This year, first goal of this player, I think he's a youth player or he's a youngster, comes out of the air, basically gets touched with his left, sets it up for a volley and knocks it into the top corner. It's just brilliant. But yeah, when I was watching it, made me chuckle because a Sunderland boss was talking about injuries and struggling. I'm thinking, if someone is going to moan, like we're moaning about our injuries. If you're going to moan about your squad size, you go do one. But yeah, they've had a bit of I think they lost 5-1 at Rotherham, didn't they?
Yeah.
On that side of it. But Ipswich have obviously got back on. They won 4-1 at Wickham.
Yeah.
On there. So, but then we always, hey, look, a Paul Cook team is going to eventually start hitting form, isn't it? So they're starting to do well. But no Joe Pigott. Obviously, he had a sad loss of his father, didn't he? But he's sitting on the bench at the moment. January transfer window, loan.
Well, there we go. We go top again with Pigott firing us to safety. Perhaps I still think we'll be absolutely fine. But Ipswich, like you say, yeah, big win at Wickham 4-1. They had a big win at Portsmouth, didn't they, a little while ago as well? So perhaps playing the so-called stronger teams, the ones up in the top 6, top 8, suits them better than scrapping against the smaller teams. I don't know, but having said that, they did lose at Plymouth on the Saturday. But Plymouth, let's see how long this lasts for Plymouth. They still haven't lost since January Day.
In a way, Plymouth is a little bit of a model of how we. What I mean is that Ryan Lowe there, gradually building the squad, gradually getting more experience, and it's been a couple of years that he's been doing it. You have to say that they're digging out results, getting late goals, not conceding much. Against us, to be fair, we could have been 1 up at half time, but they dug out and got. They're a team that really work hard, and I don't think it's going to be a flash in the pan. I think they're going to be there for most of the season.
What I liked about Plymouth when they came down to us was exactly what you've just basically said there. Really good. I mean, a lot of changes. They brought in basically a whole new back line, didn't they? But really good, strong team ethic, really working hard. So that will stand them well. And let's be fair, Plymouth are a decent-sized club. They've been in the Championship fairly recently, so
Yeah.
wouldn't surprise me. I think we've just been caught a little bit on the hop because we didn't have them in amongst the big clubs of the Ipswiches and the Portsmouth and the Sunderlands and the like. Although Portsmouth is size, some people might have different opinions of.
It's going to be no derby next season.
Of course,
Plymouth Derby. Come on, we need the Dockland Derby.
The Plymouth Portsmouth Derby. Yes. Okay. Right. Looking back to us though, who had the best week for us? Would you say? Difficult one.
Best week? Oh, crikey!
Palmer probably getting minutes.
Yeah. Do you know what? He ruffled some feathers, didn't he? But booked within about 5 minutes. Yeah, Palmer will be glad to get on the pitch.
And worst week,
probably Paul Rossi for getting
COVID. True. Yeah, no one really wants to have COVID, do they? Unless particularly lazy people wanted a week off work.
We didn't play badly. Let's be fair. We didn't get slaughtered at Cambridge. But yeah, maybe Paul Rossi for being near somebody.
We'll keep on the pitch matters, or we will keep on the pitch matters for the time being. We will come on to the Don's Trust stuff. We have a lot to say about this, but let's look ahead now to Guiseley. So they are National League North, currently 17th, had a COVID outbreak. I think it resulted in a dodgy result for them last week when they were missing quite a few players. 5-1 at Darlington. There you go. I love the FA Cup, non-league team at home. My memories of non-league teams at home against League One teams or third tier sides, I always think back to Fulham, probably about 97-ish. They had Lee RMI came to play at Craven Cottage, and they had a goalkeeper who was similar in stature and actual look to the late stages of Neville Southall's career. Mm-hmm. However, he had an absolute blind. Got them a replay, midweek replay with big spending Fulham at the time. Fulham won the replay 2-0. But I just love seeing different teams. Loved going to Haringey a couple of years ago. You like seeing a bit of variety, someone different. Curzon Ashton was great. I know we'll come on to these in a bit. So I'm looking forward to it. I also think it's handy because, and you should never, it's the FA Cup, so you should never say this, but we've talked about a bad run in the league and confidence. And you've mentioned there, Stu, about us needing to sort of keep playing our football like Robbo wants us to and not getting lost in playing what the others do. I think if we can enforce and impose ourselves on this game, get us playing our football, our pace, Asal, Radoni with their skill, quick feet, McCormick, I think it could be good for the confidence. That's all.
Yeah. I think the challenge we're going to have for the Guiseley game is it doesn't look like it's going to be not a sellout, but it doesn't even look like it's going to be probably half full, which we haven't seen Kingsmeadow. We haven't seen Plough Lane like that, really. So Guiseley, I know they've got quite a lot of coaches coming down. Not too sure what attendance-wise we're expecting, but hey, look, the town only holds 22,000 people. So hey, 500 would be really good for them. So they could be up for it. I think we need to start well. These games are always about, you don't want to give these teams any confidence. It's all about, if we play 10% lower than what we can always play and they play 10% better, then you've got a cup tie in your hands. I'll be honest with you, I know I shouldn't say it, it wouldn't surprise me if we got knocked out or it's a replay. I'll be honest with you, it wouldn't surprise me.
And so that's Stu.
Because, well, I think the thing is, when you look at these games, when you look at, I've just been reading the programme because it's great that the digital programme's out early sometimes on a Friday. And I just look at a match report and you realise we haven't scored, like you were saying. We're not on a good run. We're not on a good run. We've got a young team. If there's ever a chance of an upset, this is going to be a chance where, Radoni, McCormick, Lawrence, all those are going to be in a cup tie that they've not experienced. We've got Aaron Presley, wouldn't have been involved in an FA Cup tie like this. And we're just going to have to see how they go. I'm not saying we're going to get beat, but it really wouldn't surprise me if we have a replay. There is replays, isn't there, in the FA Cup?
At this stage,
yeah. Got your think for a minute.
No,
it wouldn't surprise me a replay up at Guiseley. It really wouldn't.
Some medals to be won for fans travelling up to Guiseley for a midweek FA Cup first round replay. Guiseley had a replay in the last round, didn't they? They needed a replay to get past Brackley Town, which is, of course, the team that was named after the ITV commentator Peter Brackley. So,
I watched it this afternoon. Actually, I was just watching on their YouTube channel, and Brackley missed a penalty. I think guys had a player sent off. The guys' his winning goal was a header from a deep free kick. Big team. They're a big team, and that's the non-league for you, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So they're the battles we're going to have to win.
I'm looking forward to it. I am really looking forward to it.
I am, yeah.
I am gonna say we're gonna win. I think we'll win. I think we might give away a goal because we do well. Actually, in the cups, two wins in the League Cup, both kept clean sheet in both of those. But let's be nice to guys. Let's give them a goal and go like 3-1 or something.
We tend to give most people goals, Nick. To be fair, don't we? So
this is what I'm saying. Yeah. So like 3-1.
Do you know what you're going to be pleased about as well, by the way? Because I'm not too sure if you've noticed this, but there are 36 FA Cup ties.
Oh, yes.
Tomorrow. And again, I was looking in the programme and it listed them all, and I was like, that is a lot of fixtures. But I'm really looking forward to watching BBC Match of the Day now.
Yes.
Because, you and I are old school. And those days when you used to have all those highlights, I was going to swear then, loads and loads and loads of footage. So 36 ties. That's the FA Cup. That's what third round. I've gone ahead of rounds.
That's what first round.
That's what the first round's all about.
It absolutely is. I'm very much looking forward to it for all the reasons you said there, Stu. Saturday, 3 p.m, absolute best. I kind of don't want to revisit the conversation, but we're going to do it later. So when it comes to fan ownership and progress and things like that. But this promotion out of this league is a problem because those 3 o'clock kickoffs, they become a little bit scarce. Ask any Fulham fan at the moment or QPR fan on TV seemingly all the blooming time. Like Leeds in the Championship are always on TV, never having a Saturday 3 o'clock. Anyway, off topic. I've said 3-1, Stu. I will ask you for your prediction in a minute. Cambridge, I predicted us to lose. And I think you predicted us to win. But I still think you still got a point. And I think I only got 2 points.
Because I gave Cambridge a goal.
Yeah. Oh, man. This is just, I need to double check this one because bear with me, listeners.
I think it's a great league. I think the scoring is brilliant. If only it could be like that for us in the real game, we'd be like up at the top.
I am going to log in now to see what's happening on the Ask a Prediction League, which is at neils-wfc-site.co.uk/APL2. And for any of my students that are listening, yes, I said hyphen, not dash, because it's a hyphen, not a dash. They are different things. Stu can see me on the camera just absolutely dying saying that, remembering, like head in hands, remembering how this conversation comes up so often. It's the same, isn't it? No, it's not the fucking same. Anyway, Cambridge. Oh, I got 2 points because I went 3-2 Cambridge. I thought we'd go. So I got 2 points, whereas you got the 1 point for saying that Cambridge would score. That puts me in 13th place, and you're up there in 8th still, Stu. Not happy with that. I'm 3 points behind you, and I've got a game in hand, but that doesn't work for this league. So
it doesn't work in that, Nick.
I missed a couple when I was unwell, which was unfortunate, but there we go. Henry R is currently top with 25 points from 18 games.
We are coming for you, Mr. Henry R.
Do you know what? I'm glad you said that actually, Stu, because it's given me a nice segue. Because when you said we're coming for you, I was about to sing along, "You franchise bastards, we're coming for you," because that's what we were singing when we realised we'd be playing them for the first time in the FA Cup in 2013. Yes. Following a replay victory over York City. And you've been looking back at our record in the FA Cup over the last decade. That game features and was actually your pick of them, I believe.
Yeah, so I just thought, you know what, it'd be good to look back because we always think team again a home in the first round against a non-league team, possible upset, which I'm thinking. But actually, how we've done, and so I just look back over the last 10 years, and it's actually really interesting because we actually, for the last 10 years, we proceeded from the first round to the second round 7 times. So actually, we've got a decent record. And when you look at 3 of those defeats, Doncaster last season, don't count. We weren't there. Don't count.
2 seasons ago.
Forest Green.
2 seasons ago, Doncaster.
Was it 2 seasons ago, Doncaster?
Yes.
Oh, sorry, of course.
We literally had this conversation before we started recording. Amazing.
Damn, it does count. We did lose against Doncaster. A game I remember really well in this 2015-16 season for not being able to see the ball, Forest Green. We were in the John Green stand, if you remember, at Kings Meadow.
God, yeah.
And I've never had such a headache after that game because it is just ridiculous. So we lost to Forest Green, who were conference at the time. And then our only other defeat in the first round was Coventry, 2013-14. When wasn't that the time when someone got stuck in traffic, if I remember properly?
Ross Warner.
Warner, wasn't it?
Oh, mate, do you know what? I've forgotten about that. I just remember sinking into my seat and just feeling for Seb Brown so much that night when he messed up. Oh, that was a horrible feeling. It was like stomach churning when that happened for him.
But you know what? It's weird, isn't it? Because goalkeepers, they like to know if they're playing, don't they? Because they mentally prepare, and it is a position where you have to mentally get with it, don't you?
Yeah.
So it was really unfortunate, but yeah, they're the times when we've not gone through in the first round. So it's a really good record. Last year was Barrow, that Thursday night midweek penalty shootout, and then lost at home to Crawley. But yeah, it just got a really decent record in there. And I was just saying to you, it'd be good to look back through the ties that we remember, and York City is just something that I always remember. The season back in 2012-13, when yes, we were coming for them. We did go to them and lose. Still can't believe Steve Gregory didn't equalise.
No, because he would have actually put us in front at the time. It would have been the winner.
That's right. It was, wasn't it? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Still remember that chance.
Oh, yeah, I can picture it. Do you know what's true? From that particular game, sorry, I know you're talking about York. Do you want to finish off talking about York, actually, and then I'll talk about Milton?
Yeah, just very quickly with York. So we drew. It was, when I look back at it, I remember it very well because we played York City 3 times in the space of 9 days. Played them twice in the FA Cup, a draw up at York, at Bootham Crescent, and then a home replay win 4-3. Interesting thing on that was that Guiseley are in the same league as York City. In the Conference North. It's scary, isn't it? New ground, and they've got probably one of the best grounds in the Conference North, which is not what they wanted, was it?
No.
But yeah, one of the highlights from the 4-3 game is just Charlie Sutton, who Martin Tyler, I watched the highlights again, called him the League 2 Wayne Rooney.
Wow. Blimey.
I don't know if that was because of looks on that side. But you know what, if you look back at the highlights, if anyone hasn't seen them, have a look back. In the first 20 minutes, York could have been out of sight, hit the crossbar twice. You remember went through a stage where Seb Brown, we just talked about, just lost it, didn't he? He just lost all his confidence.
Yeah.
And he tries to kick a ball out and kicks it out to Matty Blair, who's now at Cheltenham. But he's obviously at York City. And other highlights is Warren Cummings actually set up 2 goals. Well, he set up one directly, but he got a cross in for the second. Really, when you look back at that team, that was obviously the first season under Neil Ardley, when we really were struggling. You know, we were trying to get to that transfer window, weren't we?
Yeah.
But I remember it very well. I did the 3 games. I did York City on the Saturday, Exeter City on the Tuesday, and then back to York on the following Saturday.
Which, let's be fair, there are worse places in the country to be than Exeter and York. Both very nice cities to be in. Beautiful cathedrals to go and have a wander around. Yeah,
and York City, do you know what? I think York City is probably one of the most, one of the away grounds that I've been to the most. And seen us win there a couple of times. I remember Lyle Taylor scored a winner up there, Tom Elliott scoring a win up there, and then I still remember Brody and Rankin tearing us apart midweek 5-0.
Yes,
up there, still remember it very well. But yeah, it's just that season was just really interesting for the fact of and it wasn't 2 years later we had another first round tie with York City, which went to a replay, which we won as well. So they must hate us.
Was that the one where their goalkeeper came up for a corner at the very last and then we broke and scored into an empty net? Matt Tubbs.
Matty Tubbs, wasn't it? Yeah, it was that. Yeah, you're right, because that year we went out to Liverpool.
Yeah.
And we won at Wickham. I'm trying to think now. Was that when Sammy Moore?
Sean Rigg on the Sunday.
That's right.
Right. Sammy Moore was the first game after Terry Brown's sacking in the league. He scored that screamer. Yeah. And that was the day that I was introduced in person for the first time to Brett Nell. Never forget that day. Who would ever forget the first time they spoke to Brett Nell in person? Hi, Brett. I know you're listening. Big fan of the show. Milton Keynes, that game, Stu, I still got... I can put myself in my seat with the view of the goal and Stephen Gregory's miss. I will never forget those. Mentally burned into my mind. But if you're going to ask me FA Cup memories with AFC Wimbledon, it would be the top of them, because it was such a unique experience to go there, which we never thought we were going to do. Make such a good account of ourselves as a club and as a fan base, and then to get our moment with the goal. It was, what happened at the end happened at the end. I mean, what can you do? But considering it was essentially David and Goliath at the time, considering they were heavily financed at the top of League One, and we were a complete collection of loans, young players, and Neil Sullivan that was trying to get a result.
Well, that's what was weird, wasn't it? Because it was Neil Ardley's first season, and he's given that tie to deal with. Neil Sullivan at the end of his career. Do you know what I remember it for massively? Was that, I think rightly so, we decided to buy, well, it was basically said, look, let's buy nothing from them, no drinks. I was thirsty as anything, and I was so thirsty because I'd been shouting and singing, but I just couldn't go and get a drink because I knew someone might see me, and I was like, oh, I can't do it. And then the coach on the way back, and I got back to Kings Meadow, I think I needed litres and litres of water. I was so dehydrated.
Yeah.
That's what I tend to remember. And the Steve Gregory chants, of course.
The Steve Gregory chants.
Up there, but yeah.
What do you want to talk about? Curzon Ashton followed by Sutton United. What a couple of, very briefly, because we need to move on. But
yeah, that season was interesting. Bury for a 2-2 and then a 5-0 win. I still remember it when someone said, obviously George Frankham, everyone loved George Frankham. And we were sitting in the main stand, and someone basically, even when he scored, wouldn't clap, just said, well, it's easy enough. Try tell Joe Pigott that when he's taking penalties against certain teams. But yeah, just certain things that were just so you get reminded of, innit? And the Sutton draw at their place, the ballot.
Oh my God, the ballot! I've forgotten about the ballot. Oh no, that's not. Oh geez, what do you do with FA Cup games and ticketing fiascos? We go hand in hand with them. Whether it be the Sutton ballot, the Guiseley debenture season ticket holder issue, or the Spurs trying too hard to please everyone left Laurie Sanchez without a ticket fiasco.
Do you know what the Sutton thing was? I remember speaking to Neil Ardley, I think midweek before it at Corinthian Casuals. I think might have had a Surrey Senior Cup or something game there. Just chatting to him, and I knew when I was chatting to him that we were in trouble, because I was like, "How are you getting on?" He was like, "Yeah, we're not training. No one wants to really play on that pitch." We had players that weren't going to play on that pitch because of basically old legs and stuff like that. We had an aging team, didn't we? And I knew when he was talking about the training, how it was going, I was like, "This is going to be." But we actually got the draw there, and we could have probably had a late penalty from memory at Sutton. And then it all went wrong. It all went wrong at home, didn't it? Paul Robinson got mugged by... Yeah. Got mugged, and then Lyle Taylor got sent 3 foot in the air.
Oh, well.
But do you know what? It was a good atmosphere, though, that game at Kings Meadow, wasn't
it? It was, but, yeah, Leeds were waiting in the 4th round, so... Oh, well. At least we had that memory of Curzon Ashton with those crazy 4 goals in 10 minutes, but I think we've spoken about that.
That was cold, though, let's be fair. How cold was it? We had literally nothing to protect us. I just got in. I think literally I hadn't really been concentrating on kick-off because I was trying to keep warm. And then I looked up, and they, I can't remember what his name was now, the person got a hat-trick. Just hit it from 30 yards, didn't he? Right into the bottom corner. You're like, the game's just started. Top corner,
yeah. And but hey, we won in the end, and it was not as cold. It was cold. It was not as cold as Dorking away, but we're not going to get into that conversation about coldest games. All right, Don's Trust finances due. We're running late-ish, sounding all right-ish. Right, so on Friday, Don's Trust released a statement regarding financing options to pay off the £4.6 million bridging loan, which is due next April, spring 2022. They've outlined 2 plans, one of which essentially means we're going to sell equity at 2.6 million. The other one says no such investment, but both consider commercial loans and plough lane bond reselling. Stu, before we started, I just said to you that I'm just over it. I can't deal with this financial stuff anymore. I can't deal with it. Like, we're talking trying to sell plough lane bonds again to the tune of potentially 2+ million. Oh, how we don't even know that people that bought bonds last time aren't going to want their money back. I don't know how we're going to. It just seems that we're just creating problems for future AFC Wimbledon. I don't know. I'm not an expert.
No. I look, I'm not either. I'm not a financial expert, but I understand the bond side of it. The bond obviously is, we try to get it as cheap as interest. So we're paying interest on it, and then we're trying, if we can, see if they can do it for 10 years, etc. I think I think it was produced sometime early this year, is would be good to see if we can get an idea of what we're looking at in terms of how many we got on 5 years, how many we got on 10 years, what's the forecast for what we've got to pay each year. Because even though it's debt, it is still debt. It's still got to be paid back on this side of it. But it's, in terms of the interest rate, I think the highest was 4%. If you balance that against the bridging loan, which was at least 10% over a year, then that's a better debt. And the plough lane debt in the actual release on Friday, plough lane bond is called a friendly debt, which is an interesting way of putting it, because it's from your own. Well, you say it's from your own people, but we know that it wasn't all just Wimbledon fans, was it?
No.
Do you know what? My gut thing is I don't want to go back for a commercial loan because it's going to be at a stupid interest rate. And that's your problem, because banks are not touching us at the moment. And the plough lane bond, can we get 2 million? We know the economy's changed. Just look at people trying to heat your house and put your electricity on at the moment. It's expensive, isn't it? So are people going to be doing that? But I suppose my thinking is, and I think I've said to you before, are we pushing a can down the road? Are we just doing that? Because one of the most important things we're going to have is seeing our yearly finances, because we haven't really seen a year at Kings Meadow. Where am I getting that from? We haven't seen a year at Plough Lane yet. So what is our income in a typical year, first year? Because we're budgeting on 7,500 average attendance, which I think probably will do. But are we getting the income from the stadium and stuff like that? What I would say, I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet, Xavier Wiggins, co-chair of the Don's Trust Board, released a video with someone from the Finance Committee. It's the first time I've seen someone from the Finance Committee. And he looks quite normal. And I mean that nicely, because normally financial people don't look normal, do they? They're a bit strange, aren't they?
Yeah, we'll just say that. Yeah, all financial people look a bit strange.
Yeah, he looked normal.
Oh, with the exception of the $1 million man Ted DiBiase.
But people do computers and it's like geeks, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? I think financial people are like that. Anyway, hello to all financial people there. But the financial person seemed reasonably confident. What I would say though, this is me saying it, they're unelected.
If the financial person is listening, you've just ruined his confidence completely.
No, he come across really well, and it just surprised me. But what I would say, this is me being totally cynical, right? They are unelected people, and they're advising. It's just, and that's just. I'm not saying they're not doing the best they can, and they're giving us time that we'd have to charge for. But it's kicking a can down the road, and yeah.
Do you know what though? You raise a really, really good point when you say that about being unelected, because in my head, what I'm taking from that is, here's someone that's doing some great work for us, trying to help out as much as can. But what's the accountability? And the thing is, we have this conversation so regularly. Does the accountability, if things don't go right, if things do go wrong, does the accountability lie with the Don's Trust board members? If so, I think that's harsh, because it's such a ridiculous pressure to put on people who are volunteers, and not just volunteers at the end, like school governor volunteers at the end of their careers where they've got time to dedicate to this. Like I've said to you before, Stu, these are people that are volunteering their time once they've cooked dinner and got the kids in bed. It's such a big, huge, mammoth job for these people. And of course, they volunteered to do it and put themselves forward for it. But it's not a position I would envy. And I don't think it's particularly fair that, because if things really did go wrong, the accountability that these people would have to be put under and face is huge. I can't even imagine the mental health toll it would take on you. I don't know what the answer is. People are going to read into that and think, "Oh, Nick's saying sell the club." No, I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying perhaps if we want to continue with the model we've got, we have to recognise the weaknesses and problems with it and think, if we're going to continue with this model, how do we solve those problems? Because they are problems.
Yeah, and that's the thing, isn't it? Look, accountability is, hey, look, if it all went tits up, you can't blame one set of Don Trust board, because we also know historical Don Trust board have made decisions, whether they were good, right, or, and also we also know that because of the delay, because of Boris calling it in, we lost a year when all the materials went up. So we know that it's not, it's not about saying one certain Don Trust board is responsible, but it is the current Don Trust board that are suggesting these two plans. And it's plan A and plan B. I don't know about you, but there was nothing really within it. There was nothing really I wasn't expecting. In terms of 4.6 million, we've heard that there's been an investor because that was on the survey. So you sort of thought, well, if the survey's mentioning it, why would they be mentioning it? That investment is still, so plan A is basically about the investment from somebody that would bring our shares to 75%. That's it, though. That's as much as we can give away on that side of it. And that's not done yet. So I'm just putting two and two together and making as whatever I can. Is that investor serious? Or are they just really looking at the small print? It's not a small amount of money, is it?
No.
So,
and it's just making me wonder, are they, if we were to reduce ownership voting rights down to the 50 or 50 plus one, is there any guarantee that this investor would pick up that slack for the remainder of the money? Is there any guarantee that there's anyone out there that would actually pick up? We don't have that. We don't know that. And it feels like we're in a bit of a race against time again with 6 months to go.
Yeah, and we don't want to go down that low, do we? And we don't want to go down low to 75%, do we?
No.
So what the equity we did have to offer, that's it now.
Yeah.
This is the last part. So after that, so what I'm saying is, if you're kicking the can down the road, in a year's time, what is the option? Well, the option is to go down to the Plough Lane bond again. But at this point, we've got, 5.5 million. If we go for the 2 million, brings it to 7.5 million. It's called friendly debt, and I like that sort of expression, but it's still debt. It's still something we have to plan for. So, yeah, the plan B is totally different. The plan B would be a commercial loan. It'd be a mixture of Plough Lane bonds. So we still would go for the Plough Lane bonds. And then it would be a commercial loan, which if it was 2.5 million at 10%, 250 grand interest. It's a lot of interest. We've paid nearly £500,000 interest on this bridging loan. Yeah, and that's a quarter of our budget for the first team. And the money's only going to come out of somewhere. All it's going to do is come out of the operating budget.
Of course, yeah.
So that's what we have to consider. But we can't. One thing I will say, you can't argue the plans there. So we're being transparent. With it. We're doing that. But we're looking April end of season. We're going. We might be looking more towards a financial picture than the league picture at the end of the season, because it's a challenging target.
I would just like to say to any Premier League fans, officials, managers, scouts that are listening, Ayuba Sal will be sold in a couple of years' time for something like 50 million. But you could have him now for about 5. And I think that would be a sensible investment. So if anyone's out there listening, that's my recommendation. Ayuba Sal, £5 million. I don't think that's unfair. Who is the blooming Arsenal one I always look at and go, look, if Arsenal are going to pay £72 million for Nicolas Pepe, they can pay £5 million for Ayuba Sal. Probably get the same impact on the first team in the initial stages as well. So anyway, that's my recommendation.
You say that as in jest as such, but there's nothing saying that the January transfer window might be a little bit too early for us to go, we're in shit. But we could get to we could get to March and end up selling one of our better players for upfront money at a cheaper. So what I'm saying, let's just use a South. I'm saying, say he's worth £1 million. I think he's worth more than that. But we could get someone and go, well, do you know what? You need the money up front. we give you £400,000 now, and we're taking the end of the season.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, if we edged our bets, he's on a 3-year contract, we may get that, and that's when it starts impacting fans who say they just want to go for, look, do you know what? If you just want to go watch football, yeah, that's fine. But when it does start impacting your match day is when your stars are not there because we've had to sell them because financially we're kicking the can down the road. Difficult one. And like I say, I'm not saying outside investment. What I'm saying at the moment is that we're close to that sort of time of going, is this the ceiling that we thought we're going to hit eventually?
Is this not also a case, perhaps potentially, not the situation being as it is it a bad time to have elections where you're going to have potentially 5 new people on a Don's Trust board? Picking this up in January and having to run with it until April puts them in an awful position as well. Is it the most sensible? I've said this to you before. Do we need to have these elections every single year? I'm not sure we do. But again, that's an operational issue for the Trust to maybe debate in the future.
And you know what? We've got 12 candidates for 5 places, and you have to say thank you to those standing, because I think you're right. This could be a very challenging Don's Trust board to go into. And I remember Graham Stacey, who's 3 standing, saying in his manifesto that when he joined, his actual signing in night was that December meeting in 2019. And what a welcome that is.
Yeah.
That's a whirlwind. You've said your manifesto about communication and all this sort of side of it, and you've gone, well, you're basically told to sell the club now.
It puts them in such a difficult position to pick up the reins at that juncture. You're right. We do have 12 candidates for the election, and more information will come about that in the very near future. It's already kicked off the election season on social media this past week, and I didn't really pay much attention to it because it all got a little bit out of hand from what I could see. Do you know what I felt unfortunate about it, if I could, is neither side of the coin, and it seemed to be largely based on essentially get outside investment for equity, for stake of the club, perhaps lose fan ownership, as it were, over 50%, versus those that want to keep it and would keep it if we were to keep playing our game or go back to playing our games in the Combined Counties League. They'd rather have us fan-owned than selling the investment. Whichever side of that coin you're on, did largely seem to be a bit political, in the sense that those perhaps more solidly left politically wanted to maintain and not enshrine, no one said that, but you know what I mean, but really keep fan ownership as a constant, against those who are perhaps more right-sided on the compass, and they were ones thinking perhaps we should, to progress up the leagues, if that's what we want to do, or even just stay at the level we are, think we need to invest. Whichever way you look at it, the arguments did seem to be not conducted in the best of faith. I felt both sides thought perhaps the worst of the other side, and the engagement, therefore, in the conversations didn't really, I don't think anything productive came out of any conversation that I saw on social media. It all seemed a bit daft.
Yeah, and I think the problem is that you've got obviously one candidate who's basically standing on a ticket of challenging the enshrinement, which is basically, if you look at the Purpose Foundation, which was a blog done by the Wimbledon Way this time last year, was about how do we protect the club. And the problem is, the enshrinement is literally one piece out of that blog. There's a lot of other good stuff in there, which we've got a lot of, you've got governance, PLC, Don's Trust board, and it's confusing. I'm a little bit more switched on because I've spent time looking at it because we're covering it. But it does feel it feels. What I would say is that at the moment somebody does mention outside investment, there is a very much them and us. There is no middle ground. There's no debate. And you know what? It's a toxic situation. I get it. You and I are both around at 2002. We have those scars. We know what it felt like.
I was only 8 at the time.
Of course. But they were junior scars.
Yeah.
But what I mean by that is that once you've been done once like that, it's really hard to go, well, I'm prepared to let it go again. Equally, if you weren't born around those times, or you were, 8-year-old, you didn't know what was going on, you can empathise with it and understand it, but you don't really feel it, and that's not their fault. So those are ones that are going, well, do you know what? Actually, I don't see a difference. And I know someone who we got involved in Sunday Night Live, had basically gone, well, do you know what? Don't really care about it.
Yeah.
And and that doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean they're not a fan. It doesn't mean they don't care. But we have to accept that the younger generation will see the likes of Fulham spending money. We'll see the likes of Chelsea, and they will get to a stage and go, do you know what? Is League One with a budget of, I don't know, bottom six? Is that going to keep them coming back? We have to be honest about that. Football fans are fickle.
Yeah.
Especially, and that's just weird. That's the problem. So there's a divide. I think the hustings and the stuff would be really, really interesting. But we just need to deal with it in an adult way. It's not been done this week, and social media, keyboard warriors tend to have that.
I don't think I can add anything to that, Stu. That is what it is. And that's all we've got to say about that, as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, and did say. And we miss Stone Cold every single day. On that note, Stu, I think we probably call it a day there. We have run late.
Sounded great.
Sounded absolutely amazing, as always. Thank you for joining me. No
problem. And let's look forward to the FA Cup. The good thing about recording this on a Friday night is that tomorrow is the FA Cup. And by the way, please
that's not true of every Friday night.
No, of course, it's not the FA Cup every Saturday. But by the way, wrap up warm. It's cold. Can I just say, Nick? Right, since I've moved to Epsom, I'm up at Epsom Downs. I've never been so cold in my life. It is like the coldest place every night.
I do feel for you. I shall get you some blankets to help you out in these times of trouble.
Remember, they used to sell them, the old blankets sitting. We should have them. We should have them.
Wimbledon blankets, definitely.
Did it go through a phase where all subs started doing that? Like,
yeah,
gloves,
one of those
hats.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen anymore, does it?
No, sad times. Get the flasks and the blankets. Right, updates from the game with guys, as Stu mentions, will be on Twitter at 9YRS Podcast. But that is it for us this week. So once again, Stu, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Alexa Bliss bag first. Milk last 2 + 2 = 4. And we shall speak to you again next Friday.